Hey guys, it's Cam, and I wanted to do a quick video just to talk about crystal readings. Now, in my group on Facebook, we do twice a month. Let's see, it's the second Friday of the month and the last Friday of the month. We do what we call crystal readings, and we try to read the energy of the crystal. And something that we try to do in our group, and I think we're pretty good at it, is we try to not necessarily go with what we've been taught about the crystal. So if we see rose quartz, do we automatically think love? Or if we see pyrite, do we automatically think abundance and prosperity and that kind of thing? So we try to, well, first of all, we ask that you don't post the name of the crystal. So but oftentimes, even though we don't know, we still look at it and we kind of know what it is. If you see pyrite, you kind of know it's pyrite. But we don't always know, and I think it's better when we don't know because we can try to read the energy of the crystal without knowing anything, no preconceived notion. That's what I love about doing these readings, especially when I don't know what it is, because you can't always tell in a picture. And I think it's so fun to try to read the energy of the crystal. And something that, I love doing is not only reading the energy of the crystal, but also looking for that message that comes across. Like, what does that crystal have in store for you? Like, some kind of message from the crystal. Or I think it's so fun. And we really have a good time doing this in my group. And so I wanted to give a couple tips on how I do it and how it works for me. I just feel really in tune with crystals. I have a video on how to establish a close relationship with your crystal. I'll put that link below. So make sure you work on that so that you're already know how to establish close relationships with crystals and the mineral kingdom in general. I think when you have more connections with different kinds of crystals, you can kind of tap into the energy when you are trying to do readings. All right, so that's one tip. But another thing that I do when I see a picture, first of all, I make it as big as I can. I don't look at it on the phone. I can't see it on the phone. I make sure I'm looking on my computer so I have the big picture. And I look at it, and I try to put myself in the perspective of like that I'm actually inside the crystal. I try to shift consciousness, I guess is what I do. I take my consciousness and I try to put it inside the crystal to get that viewpoint. It's kind of like a remote viewing kind of thing to see what's going on inside the crystal. That's something that I try to do. It doesn't work with every reading or every crystal, but in many cases I'm able to do that and get a different perspective of what's going on in that crystal. Is there some kind of like fairy energy or angelic energy or mermaidian energy or something along those lines, and some kind of devic in there, and try to pick up on that. And so I'll do that. So you shift your energy and your perspective and you put it into the crystal. Also, because a lot of times we look with our physical eyes and we see things like faces and things like that. Now, just because we see what might look like an angel doesn't mean there's angel energy in there. It could represent something else. But I also think sometimes we will see something just to help us to then tap into that. So like sometimes I might pick up on something and be like, all right, I think I see a fairy, but not really. But I'm picking up on fairy energy, and it may not necessarily be fairy or fae per se, but for me, when I think of the fairies, when I think of the fae, even though there may not necessarily be that spirit or that entity in the crystal, the message behind it could possibly be to work more with nature, with Gaia, to do more recycling. So when I pick up on fairy energy, it may not necessarily be fairy, it might be, but it might be as a message to that individual, work more on recycling, taking care of our planet. So you see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's not always exactly what you think it is. It could just be a symbolic representation of something else. So one, I try to put myself in the crystal to get that perspective. Two, I try to look for the symbolism in it and what I see. Also, trust how you feel. Do you get tingles on your head? Does the hair stand up? What part of your body? So when you look at a picture of a crystal, or if you have a crystal in your hand, or whatever the case may be, what part of your body is being affected? Do you get a headache all of a sudden? Do you get like a feeling of pulsing in your throat or your solar plexus, or does your foot hurt? Look for symptoms like that. because that could be symbolic for something as well, and can be helping you to identify something with the crystal and how it might relate to that person. So you're looking for that connection, not just what the crystal is about, but how it connects to the person. So that's an interesting perspective, too. And that's kind of what I do, is I try to look for that connection between the person and the crystal. So again, you kind of want to, put yourself in front of the crystal or inside the crystal to get a perspective. You're looking for symbolism. You really want to make sure that you are grounded, okay? And that you are centered and in the now. You can't be doing other things and trying to do readings. You have to be very there and in the moment. I like to listen to some music. I'll put a link below as to some of the music that I listen to when I do the reading, because I find it really helps. I also work with my labradorite when I do readings, danbarite and celestite, because those three together really help me when I do readings. So you can work with a crystal to help, with your own energy, so that you can read the crystal. Another one is clear quartz is a really good one to work with when you're doing readings, because it amps up everything, and it'll help you to make that connection. Another thing you can do, you can take a clear quartz. This is not clear quartz, it's citrine, but you can take a clear quartz if it's a double-sided or double terminated, and you can kind of point it at the picture and make an imaginary connection. Right, so if you have a picture of a crystal, or if you're doing a reading of a person, you can put that up on the screen, and you can have your double terminated quartz, so that the energy is going both ways, so you can establish a connection. But you have to remember, when you establish a connection, that you need to cut that cord. You need to get rid of that connection, otherwise you're going to stay connected. All right, so make sure you have, in your mind's eye, you use imaginary scissors, or use black kyanite or blue kyanite or black obsidian arrowhead or something, and cut that connection if you decide to do it that way. All right, so you want to be very, very careful with that. So those are just some tips on how I do readings. Very focused. I like to do them at night. For me, it works better at night. I don't know why. Wednesdays work really well for me too. It's a very spiritual day. So you have to know what time is good for you, what day is good for you, what crystals work well for you. It's just really important to be in the now, be grounded, keep protected, and to cut those cords and cut that connection once you make it, because I think that that's really important. Otherwise, we carry that baggage with us. So those are just some tips. I hope that it helps. Sometimes, I should also say, sometimes I will drink a gem water, like with amethyst or danbarite, and I'll make a gem water and drink that too, because to get it right into my system, or I'll spray it all around me, and it just kind of opens everything up, and really gets that mojo going. It works really, really well. And selenite too. If you take your selenite wand and clear your aura and stuff, you're kind of getting rid of that debris and stuff, and so that helps when you're doing readings too. So just a quick video to share a couple tips. So I hope that that helps. So as always, guys, thank you for joining me, and have a blessed day. Bye.